What is going on, everyone? Hope you're all doing well and had a fantastic NFL wildcard weekend. Some really great games this past weekend. If you're a football fan, let me know your thoughts. What was your favorite game so far of wildcard weekend? We still got the Buccaneers and the Cowboys tonight, but all great games. Fantastic NFL games this whole weekend. Some games that really shouldn't even have been close, but that's not why we're here today. We're here to talk about The Last of Us TV series. Something when I first heard about, I had my general feeling of pretty much every time we hear about a movie, video game crossover, generally speaking, it doesn't go particularly well. There's a few odd ones out there that kind of snuck through the cracks and ended up being pretty decent, but up until now, I don't think anything has really hit quite on the scale and with the level of success of, at least for the first episode for The Last of Us TV series, which is out now on HBO Max. There's only one episode right now, so we're going to have to wait week to week to get the rest of the episodes, but so far, it's off to a fantastic start, and as a fan of the series and as a gamer, I wanted to give my feedback and my opinion on the first episode of the series, so let's get into it. But first, today's video is brought to you by SuperCDK.com, where you could save money on games for all of your favorite platforms, as well as software like Windows 10 Pro licenses for just $22, and then you can unlock the prestigious Dark Mode for Windows 10, which I honestly could not live without. It is blinding without the dark mode. You guys need it in your life. And now you can also save an additional 25% off at checkout by clicking Buy Now on any software products over there. Just go ahead and add it into your cart and put in my code JP25 at checkout and apply, and that'll bring our price from $22.44 all the way down to $16.83, a savings of over $5. And I'll walk you through how to get your key and install it on Windows 10. Go ahead and click Submit Order and complete your checkout from there. For me, that's going to be with PayPal, and then click on Pay Now. After completing the checkout, it'll bring you to your purchased order page, and it will update in a matter of seconds, or just go ahead and hit F5. Go ahead and do that one time. It came through literally immediately. I got the payment email that it had gone through and the delivery of the product exactly at the same time. Once you're done with that, go ahead and click on View Keys and Codes, and we'll get our code right here that we can go ahead and copy and paste in on Windows 10 by hitting the Start button and type in the word Activate. When you see that activation settings or see if Windows is activated, go ahead and click on that, and it'll bring up this right here, and click on Change Your Product Key or Unlock Windows 10. As I already have Windows 10, I obviously don't need to put in a new key, but just paste it in and then go ahead and click Next, and you are all done and set. For more information on SuperCDK.com as well as the coupon code, be sure to check out the links down in the description below. So I watched the first episode of it this morning. I woke up at about 5:30 a.m., started at around 6, and I think it was close to an hour and a half long. So a pretty good length for a first episode. And I took a peek at the reviews over on IMDb, which is where I just generally like to look and see what the general consensus is. And right now it is sitting at a 9.6 out of 10 with nearly 10,000 reviews already clocked in less than, well, really probably 12 hours at this point. So obviously off to a very impressive start, and people are happy with it. And as we all know, gamers are not easy people to please, especially when it comes to film crossovers and making films or TV shows about video games. It's sort of the same thing with books too. Whenever they make books into TV shows or movies, the book fans are very, very hard on that recreation. And seeing these review scores and also having watched the first episode, I have to say that I can see why it's getting such high praise. The first episode, at least, is really for the most part, like a lot of it is just frame by frame recreations of stuff that happened in the game. And that might just sound like, oh, well, it's boring. I've already played the game. And you would be wrong, because there is some filler content. There's extra conversations and things that happen, and it presents it in a very dramatic way, just like the game does. But yeah, I could see the point is, like, if you've already played the game, you probably aren't going to learn too much here, but it's still really impressive to see where they took the source material. They build on it a little bit here and there, but really stick with the core content of it and the vibe of the characters, you know, that the game developers, that the writers of the games sort of set forth before us. And they also did a fantastic job with the casting, bringing in two former Game of Thrones stars in the form of Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey. Pedro Pascal played the Viper on Game of Thrones, who was, spoiler alert, killed later on in the series by the Mountain in a fight where he was fighting for Tyrion's life, right? Yeah. And also Bella Ramsey. I can't remember the name of her character from Game of Thrones. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank, but she was the little girl who was like in all these council meetings and had way too much responsibility for someone her age, but she was a little spitfire, and she was really good in that show. I'm embarrassed that I'm forgetting her name on Game of Thrones, but she's really good in this as well as Ellie. Both of them pretty much absolutely nail the characters, especially Pedro Pascal. I mean, he is literally Joel. Like, I'm sorry, like the voice, the mannerisms, the way he acts in the game and in the movie or the TV show. I'm sorry, he is just literally Joel through and through. Even though we saw there's some changes here. Like obviously Joel was a Caucasian character and he is Latino. I think I'm pretty sure Pedro Pascal is like Latin of some sort of descent of Latin America or Spain or something. So like I'm always worried like when that happens, like people are going to be so upset about it that they're not even going to give it a chance. But it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter in any case anyway. But a lot of fans of these materials, when they change like races or genders and stuff, people get upset, and I can understand a lot of people's points with that, but I don't think that was an issue here at all. I think a lot of people were behind Pedro Pascal right from the start, from the very first trailer, or even before the very first trailer even came out, because he's a fantastic actor. He was great in Game of Thrones. He's great in The Mandalorian. Whoever is in charge of Pedro Pascal's career, let me just say, they're doing a fantastic job with going from Game of Thrones, which obviously has a huge nerd culture vibe, fantasy universe, and all of that, and then to take him to go from Game of Thrones, where he could have, just stepped away and just, trickled into mediocrity and picked up some roles here or there. No, he went straight from that to Star Wars, sticking within the nerd realm. And then he goes from Mandalorian to doing a video game series. Like the guy is books with Game of Thrones, Star Wars, and now video games. Like he's pretty much hit the triple crown of the nerd universe, okay? Like, this guy is going to be set for life. If this is the last thing he ever does, he'll be able to make a fortune just from attending conventions until the time that he passes away. Pedro Pascal, we appreciate you, sir. Fantastic job as Joel in The Last of Us, as well as Bella Ramsey playing Ellie. And I can't really show anything from the show. I don't want to get copyrighted or anything like that, but it's also as far as like the set design and showing Boston the way that it was in the game with the quarantine zones and everything, and the vibe of it with the FERDA and the Fireflies and all of that, or FEDRA, sorry, and the Fireflies. Everything so far in the game world, from the game that they're presenting in this world and the lore and everything around it, I think they are hitting it on all cylinders so far. And coming up in the rest of the season, there's going to be a bunch of other characters from the game that we're going to see pop up as well that I'm really looking forward to seeing. Most notably is actually a voice actor from the game who is going to be reprising his role as Perry, and that is Jeffrey Pierce. So he was the voice actor in the games that played Perry, and he is going to be returning in the TV series as Perry as well. So that's kind of cool to see. And also any other maybe voice actors that might pop up throughout the season as well. But there's some other characters too that I'm definitely looking forward to seeing. They also did, so Anna Torv, who I'm not super familiar with as an actress, but she played Tess. You can kind of see the comparison right there. Definitely roughed her up quite a bit. The video game character model was definitely looks a lot younger and maybe a little less beaten up, let's just say. I mean, she's got a couple scars and bruises here, but let's just say that Anna Torv looks like she has seen some shit. Also, great casting with Merle Dandridge as Marlene. I mean, they pretty much look like twins. We got a recasting here of Sarah as well, as Pedro Pascal doesn't look like Joel, so it would make sense for his daughter to look like, well, Joel's daughter in the game. Let's just say that. Also, Nick Offerman as Bill. That's going to be fucking awesome. Love Nick Offerman. Love pretty much everything that he does. So him coming in as Bill is like a perfect casting, and I can't wait to see what his sort of comedic tone can bring to the role of as Bill. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, and all the other characters that we'll see throughout this first season as well. But so far, this first episode, 10 out of 10. The last show that I can remember saying was a 10 out of 10 on a first episode was probably House of the Dragon. But before that, it had been quite some time, honestly, like probably a few years, I would say. So we've got some good shows in the last year from HBO Max. Like I said, House of the Dragon, fantastic spin-off series for the Game of Thrones, or prequel series, however you want to look at it. And now The Last of Us. Glad to see this actually got off to a good start, and I'm definitely looking forward to checking out the rest of them throughout the year on HBO Max. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, especially if you had a chance to already check out the first episode of The Last of Us. As I said, no spoilers here, but if you've played the game, you already know the spoilers. I'm actually curious to more see what people think of it that maybe have not played the game. Like if you've not played the game at all, or even just like, I mean, I doubt you'd find your way to this video, but I am curious to find out what, maybe like a middle-aged parent, maybe would say. Someone that's not a gamer in any facet whatsoever, but is just, a regular American person that has HBO Max and is like, oh, Last of Us, what's that? Let's check it out. I'm curious to see what their thought of it is and how easily they followed, some of the stuff. Because, like, it's starting to introduce, like, things like the fireflies and, things along those lines. And I'm curious with the presentation, was it enough for them to pick up on what's going on in the story? I feel like they did enough. They probably could have done a little bit more world building to sort of set that up, maybe for people that have not played the games. But for people that played the games, you're just going to be able to drop right in. You're going to be like, yep, I know what's going on here. Boston, Fireflies, gotcha. Let's go. Also, before I get out of here, I will say that even though I've played the two games that have come out, I feel like within the first 5 minutes of this show, I got a better understanding about the origins of this, virus or whatever they call it, in The Last of Us. I feel like we got a better explanation of that in the first 5 minutes of the show than I was able to pick up in the game. Now, I'm not saying the games didn't explain things, but I really never felt like I got the full grasp of like what the source of the viral outbreak and everything was. And within the first 5 minutes, I was like, oh, that makes total sense. That like changes my entire way of thinking about things, and it's not just a stupid zombie game. It still is a stupid zombie game or a zombie show. Not really zombies, but sort of like zombies, you know what I mean? More or less sort of like the undead, but not really the undead, but it's more or less the same shit anyway at the end of the day. But yeah, they just did a fantastic job of explaining it, so I was just like, oh, I got it now. All right, cool. So I just thought that was good, and I hope you guys check it out and let me know what you think down in the comments. And I'll catch you next time for another video. Peace.